I met this woman about a year ago, and we got along so well. The type of getting along that you think, wow, what if this is it? And it turns out that she has a boyfriend who she's been with for about 10 to 12 years. So naturally, I start to wonder, as I have many other times in the past, what is the right thing to do in this situation? So first, let's start with why it's wrong, right? Because I think this is what most people intuitively feel about this, even those who might still indulge, so to speak. And I think it's wrong because, for one, there's a problem of dishonesty, right? If she's in a relationship and she's not being transparent with her partner, or her partner has these reasonable expectations based on the kind of relationship that they've had, that she is not going to be talking to a guy a certain way or flirting or whatever it may be, all the way up to having sex. So if those expectations, which have been set implicitly or explicitly, are broken, then first I have to ask myself that, am I okay being with someone who is being dishonest to their partner? And am I okay with the pain that I'm gonna contribute to if this partner were to find out? And even if he doesn't find out, am I okay with the lack of integrity on her part by not being honest with him? Another problem that might be considered as far as why it would be wrong for me to talk to her is disloyalty. And honestly, when it comes to disloyalty, this is one that I have a very hard time explaining. It's like we have people who we associate with often doing whatever it is, whether it's an activity that we do or just our best friends who we do things with. And there's always this underlying sense that we should be loyal to them. And that loyalty comes in the form of basically meeting the same expectations or obligations that we've always met in the past. We should maintain their level of expectation. We shouldn't disappoint them. But actually, I'm gonna leave my concerns with loyalty for the end of the video. So there's the issue of dishonesty, integrity, there's the issue of disloyalty. First of all, it's not a given that she's being dishonest. I don't know what their agreement is. I don't know what their expectations are in the relationship. Well, if she is being dishonest, then would it be my responsibility to basically make that decision for her as far as who she wants to be with? I tend to take a very, I guess, maybe libertarian view on this, in the sense that I think she should be free to do whatever she wants. She should be able to, even if she's in a marriage, I think as human beings, we should always have the freedom of choice. If I'm with someone who's being dishonest to a partner, really my only responsibility, as far as I see it, is to ask myself that, am I comfortable being with this person who might be dishonest to me? If she's being dishonest to her partner, then do I trust that she's not going to be dishonest with me? And if I don't trust that, is that someone that I want to be with? Now, that might sound like a selfish way of viewing this whole dynamic, considering his own interest, him being the person that she's in a relationship with, his own interests are at stake here. But I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure it is a selfish thing, because in reality, we have so many relationships to balance that no matter what we do, we're always going to have this tension between the different people that are important in our lives, whether it's with our families and our jobs or co-workers or whatever. There's always this kind of tug of war. It's basically the war for attention in a more social aspect, where everybody is vying for our attention and we're vying for people's attention that we're interested in. And there's always going to be overlap. So in that sense, I can't take it upon myself to delegate what she finds worth her attention. If she feels like I'm the one who she wants to spend her time with, then why is it my responsibility to set that boundary and say, no, you should give your attention to this other person just because you're in a romantic relationship with them? I'm not sure what makes a romantic relationship so special from other relationships. You could have a friend, a best friend, who your relationship with that person is much more substantial than that of your romantic partner. So I don't think just the label, so to speak, of being in a romantic relationship with or monogamous relationship with someone is enough of a reason for me to feel like I need to set that boundary for her and decide for her how she's going to spend her time with that person versus me or other people. So would it hurt the guy if she is betraying him? Of course it would. Would it hurt me if I was in his situation? Of course it would. And that is actually one way that I try to figure out if something I'm doing is right or wrong, is by putting myself in that person's situation. And so in this case, I would be very hurt if that is what she was doing behind my back. But would I blame her or would I blame the person she's with, right? The person she's cheating on me with. I would blame her. I wouldn't blame that person. And so even if I would not like that person or I would feel jealous about that person or whatever it may be, my subject of disappointment would not be in that person. Like, I don't know that person. I don't know him, for all I know, he is better than me. Better than me in the sense of he is meeting more of her expectations than I meet her expectations. Another point to make here is that if I'm truly being selfless, should I not be happy for her to have met someone who's actually better for her than I am? Why does my desire for her happiness have to be contingent upon her being with me? How does that make me a selfless person? So does she need to fix what makes her happy, or do I need to fix what makes me jealous? And that's not to minimize the intensity of jealous feelings or to say that people shouldn't feel them or that I wouldn't feel it myself. But life is all about people who are going to come and are going to go, whether it's death that's taken them away from us or other people who are taking them away from us or other interests or other hobbies. People change, we change. This dovetails into the point about loyalty, and why I'm not such a big fan of it is because I don't think just dogmatic loyalty in the face of change, whether it's in change in our interests or change in the person we're with, or just there's so many things that could change that would warrant a reassessment of our commitments in life. So loyalty should have its limits too, right? We can't just be loyal just because we've been loyal in the past. Like, that's not a good reason to be loyal. We always have to keep assessing whether our goals, our interests are aligned with the interests of the people that we're interacting with. In every other domain in life, we're really going with what is best for us, right? With our friends, with our families, with things we're buying, just with everything. We go with what is better for us, and we always leave ourselves the option to do better. Even in our careers, we're always leaving jobs if we have better jobs. So loyalty really comes down to self-interest at the end of the day. If someone is not having their interests met, we do not fault them for going with something better. If I go to the store and I buy something and I later realize that there's a better option on there, you're not going to fault me for taking that thing back and buying a better option. Not to be too crass about it, because I know we're talking about human beings and their feelings here, but even to put it in a human context, if I had a friend who I felt was not fulfilling my needs, I would move on from that person, right? Or I would limit, it would be less time that I would be spending with that person for that reason. And this is not something that people are usually transparent about. This is something that we do in a very inconspicuous way, so to speak. We don't go to the friend and tell them that, hey, I mean, sometimes we do, right? Like if we're being very, if the friend is toxic enough, then we feel more justifiable in cutting off ties. But if it's not something that bad, if our interests just run out of alignment, we do tend to move on. We spend less time with the person, and that's just how life goes. So, again, I'm not sure why monogamous relationships or serious relationships or whatever label you want to call it are exempt from that. I just think it's too dogmatic to put that in a different category just because there's a risk of jealousy, right? So that's kind of a lot of loose threads on this topic that I've been considering for many years now. And I don't have any conclusion on this. I don't feel like I have any answers. I have ideas that have a semblance of answers. It's more something that I'm still considering. And there is that bias, obviously. Like if I have an interest in someone else, then obviously I'm going to try to justify my behavior as far as engaging in that as much as possible. But to the extent that I've been able to do that to a point where I can't, as much as I've tried, find any kind of counter to the points that I've made that feel like they're enough for me to change my views on that. But I do want to leave on one last point as far as the dishonesty goes. That everything I said on that was based on someone who's being dishonest. She could be honest, right? Like I said, I don't know that for sure. I don't know if she's being dishonest with him, or there's always a gray area where she might be pushing the boundary. It might not be something that Dave said is off the table, but he might even know that he could be hurt and still allow for some things, which is what I tend to do myself. Because again, I like people to live their lives and do whatever they want. But assuming she's being honest, everything I said on that really changes. Like, I think transparency is the most important element in this dynamic, where if she's honest with him, then I think there's even less reason to be concerned with disloyalty or dishonesty, because she does have the right to her interest, right? And she's vocalizing that to him. She's not keeping him in the dark, and she's being honest with me too, hopefully, and any other guy who she's interacting with. And if any of us are not okay with that, then it would be our decision to make as far as what to do based on that.